Hey guys, welcome to the fourth episode of the Curiosity Club podcast. If you're new here, my name is Ruvin and I'm with Kabir and Nimruk of other co-hosts of the podcast. We did some pretty interesting podcasts previously, so if you're new here, go check it out. And today we'll be talking about effective communication and how it relates to our emotional intelligence as well, which is a pretty broad topic, if I'm being honest. We might get lost here and there, so bear with us, please. This is just our fourth podcast. But before we get into all that, I think Kabir, you need to take over about the last week's action items.
Action items. Action items. That's my part. So action items. I think our last action item was sharing goals with each other. Sharing goals, and last episode was about procrastination. So mainly it was about noting down the things that we tend to procrastinate and how important those things are for us. So before that, I think sharing goals with each other. It was the thing. Actually, Ruin recommended this book, Gap and the Gain, and I forgot about sharing goals part actually. So I listened to that audiobook of Gap and the Gain yesterday in chapter 6 or something. One of the main things that explain that is that you have to keep three things that you are going to achieve, and you have to tell it to somebody like an accountability partner. So I think I'm going to put sharing goal part for me for the next week, and I'm trying to find an accountability partner and try to make that relationship work. So about noting down the procrastination things, I created this thing I usually try to create these things in Notion and like some things. So I move my things. I write down this task list. So other than that, I created these small things. You can move blocks around in the Notion. So like that, whenever I try to procrastinate on something, I write it down and just try to do it without thinking about it. And so you guys, how did you guys do on parts?
So if you guys you already know that about sharing goals thing, I'm doing this daily thing, which is pretty it used to be pretty exhausting. So for those who don't know, I started doing 30 daily vlogs. I'm currently at day 13 actually day 13 today. It was pretty exhausting at first. Like I had to do all these things like create a vlog and everything, but I'm getting used to it now. It's growing in me. So except for that, I also used my journal. So every morning, I divided my journal into 3 sections. I think Kabiru mentioned this in a previous podcast, to not leave it for the end of the day and just do it at separate times of the day. So I started doing that. I'm doing a journaling session the first thing in the morning, after lunch, and just before bed. So that way it's it doesn't feel like work to do. The first thing in the morning, I write down what I'm gonna do today. So what I write down, I have to tick it at the end of the night. If I don't, I'm not going to sleep without ticking that. So sharing goals, that's kind of for myself. I shared my goals, like in my mind, I established them in the morning. But except for that, in the sharing goals, all I did was doing the vlogs, which I think is pretty fair.
And they're awesome too. They are super vlogs.
Yeah, you can find my comments there. You can find me commenting every down. I comment. Yeah, I comment both of you. This side even today. So today I commented 12 emojis.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I should check that.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, like something that I'm going to 30. Actually, it's one of Actually, I usually when I come home from university, first thing I do is go to YouTube, and then there's this thing 30 days of discipline.
Both of you guys are the only guys that are commenting on my video, which is all right. I'm happy that I at least have you guys. I'm grateful for that. So about the next one, it's also related to this vlog thing. So it used to be interesting to edit vlogs at the end of the day, but now I tend to postpone it. I'll just watch this YouTube video and just do that later and stuff like that. For the past couple of days when that happened, I used technique that Kabir mentioned in the previous podcast, which is the 5-minute rule. I think so. If the task takes you more than 45 minutes, I think, 45 minutes, you just do 5 minutes and see if you can continue it for more time. And if you can, just do it. And if you can't, just do 5 minutes and leave it for the later part of the day. So I did that, and it actually worked for me. So most of the time, I started editing the vlog, and I continued till the end, because when you do the first 5 minutes, you get into this flow state. I think I most of the time I ended up finishing editing the vlog. So that's it for my last week's action items. What about you, Nimukul?
And before that, True, in your short channel, you have increased the production value. Also the number of videos you upload.
Yeah, you have 18 shorts. 18 shorts. I counted that today, so I want to share it. The other guys, you have 18 shorts.
Also, before I take all the credit for that, I should also mention my girlfriend's been helping me a lot with that, because I have been running out of shorts for the past couple of days, and props to you. Thanks for that.
Actually, I saw when I'm going through YouTube Shorts, I saw one short, and I thought about this, and I should share this with Ruin. When I look at the title of the channel, actually that one of your shorts.
It's pretty amazing. Like, I've been scrolling through the shorts, and here comes your short, and they blend in with the production value is so good.
Production quality.
They're pretty good, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thanks, man. Thanks, I appreciate it, man.
About my I did. So you guys all know I started university recently. So and also I started the timetable recently, and also started that noting down what you have to do daily, like a tick or something like that. So at the end of the day, kick off certain stuff. And also, this you guys might not know this, but I started taking cold showers every morning.
Same here.
Nice.
Same here. Inspired by Ruin, I guess.
That's good. That's good, guys. I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. As we mentioned in the previous podcast, like the cold showers, they have a huge effect on how you guys can stop procrastinating, I guess, because there's this how do I say this? There's this thing that we call it the flinch. So you have to overcome this flinch when you're taking the cold showers. Like, you have to make the decision to do something that you won't enjoy, but you do actually enjoy it, but it's just the first few seconds that you don't enjoy it. That's where the whole resistance is. I think you guys practicing that, I think you have a significant improvement in the near future in how you not escape procrastinating, because the more you practice taking over the flinch, the less you can do procrastinate, I think. I think if you guys haven't watched the procrastination podcast about procrastination, make sure you guys go watch that, because I think that was one of the best podcasts we have did, in the previous ones. It was a pretty good one. We shared some great insights and how it affected us and how we overcome our problems like that. So you guys make sure go watch that if you already didn't. So I think we can jump into today's topic: effective communication. All right. So effective communication. How do I define it? So effective communication, simply put, is the process of communicating information in a way that the people who are listening, or the audience, can actually understand and fathom what you're saying, right? So it's not only words, it's your feelings, thoughts, emotions, and everything, how you convey them and how others receive them. So I think Javier had these really nice note on the difference between communication and effective communication? I think, So in that note, Kabir mentioned what communication is. Communication is delivering information. Like, we communicate all the time, even though we're not talking. Just our facial expressions, just the expression of our emotions, we are communicating to whoever's watching. Even if no one's watching, we are communicating your emotions to the walls around you. All right. So that's how communication works. But the difference between effective communication and communication is, effective communication means how others and the audience receive it. Like, not how, it's the amount of the data or the information that you put out that the others can understand and gain into their lives. So
actually, this thing, if you are communicating effectively, then the audience should be able to tell someone else. Then the audience that he's telling, then they can understand. So it's like share that audience gonna be able to share it with someone. Like it's mostly when it comes to verbal type of things.
For example, what Kabir just said. So let's say you guys went to a class or a lecture or whatever you guys in school or uni. Let's say one of your friends couldn't come to the lecture or the class, but you were there. And if your friend asks you to explain what the lecturer or the teacher explained, if you guys could explain, that means there was effective communication between you and the lecturer. But if you can I think he said something about this and a little bit about this, that's just communication. That's just communication happening between you and the lecturer, because you didn't gain everything. Like, the information, there was an information loss between the lecturer and you, and that's not effective communication, right? I think about the types of communication that brings out effective communication, Nimruka, you had some great points. Can you share with us now?
Sure. So first of all, we can when it comes to communication, there are different ways of communication. So we can basically basic types about we can separate them into basic 4 types, mainly verbal, non-verbal, visual, and written. So most of our day-to-day communication is verbal communication most of the time. And non-verbal communication, I think it's kind of part of the verbal communication also, right? Because it includes body language and so on. So for this, it is very this verbal type of communication is very interesting because, for example, Jordan Peterson, he's a great communicator, great verbal communicator. He does some.
I've seen some of his videos, man, like on YouTube. Like the way he sews the words together. Like, he chooses these amazing words that fits together. That it's just so unique. I've never seen it with anyone else.
Yes, Tony. Jordan Peterson is a great person. Like, he has so much. I think he's like a prime example of a great communicator. Like, he can move a crowd with just his voice. How amazing is he?
Yeah.
How can someone? Yes. Go.
Yeah, it's amazing how he can just put out his thoughts, like how he articulates them, how he matches the words that exactly expresses what he wants to tell. It's just like, I've actually legit, I've never seen anyone else do that perfectly. Like, I've seen some people up to some extent that does it really good, better than most of the others, but not up to his level.
It comes from his vocabulary and using different terminology, practice. It all combines into one, and he has a great personality also. So the next thing is when it comes to verbal communication, non-verbal communication, it means body language. It's also important.
A verbal communication without the correct non-verbal communication won't be that much effective, won't be that much it won't be powerful enough to impact someone.
Yeah.
He is definitely right. And also, we'll get back to that later. Before that, I'm going to talk about visual communication and also written communication too.
Yeah.
So, for an example, visual communication is like, best example is graphic design. I think graphic design is like combining art with text. So you can convey an idea through visual alone, like imagery.
Actually, not just an idea, but also the emotions inside, right? Inside that art, right? When you look at an art, when you look at a poster, you just see this is something related to this field, right? You get that emotion from it. Yeah,
that's the emotion put into pictures, like and a disclaimer for the graphic designers out there, guys, I've seen some really good AI coming out, so you better watch out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the thing with AI is AI can't produce original stuff.
You need someone to input, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna combine, but they can't make original stuff. So you better be original.
Yeah.
Also, talking about visual, I heard someone say that visual, like conveying idea through visual is 60,000 times faster than from a written, something written.
No.
60,000 times.
60,000.
Like, wow. When we think about it, it is true, because like we have to read for 30 minutes, we can get the same idea from just an image we see for a second or two.
Actually, I can't remember exactly where I got this. This part in our brain, when we see a text, it goes to our brain, and we have. I can't get into the details, but there's another part. Even a person who has eyes, but he has these neural things in our brain that doesn't work. So he's a blind person. But if he's looking at a picture, he just gets a smile. If he sees something happy, he gets a smile. If he says if he saw something sad, he can't see. But there's this part in our brain that recognizes the image patterns like something. So I think I
saw that too. I think that was in one of the Human Lab podcasts. I think I'm not sure. I think I saw it somewhere around Human Labs, I think. So getting back to what did Nimruga mention right before this? I had a point just to like
the 60%.
Oh. Like so let's say you wanted to. So let's go back to a COVID period, right? Like when we had online classes, when we were watching, like listening to the teacher speaking, imagine if we didn't have a teacher writing on the board, right? Like if it just was just the, like it doesn't have to be something complicated like calculus or something. Imagine if it just was just a quote, all right? So imagine a teacher said a quote and he or she didn't write it down on the board. Like the amount of information or the percentage that you remember would actually be very less, right?
And also using of charts, flow charts, and like when you teach someone, you use the flow diagrams and stuff. Imagine explaining the photosynthesis using only words.
Yeah, exactly. When we go to the exam, the first thing that comes to mind when we read this part of the question, oh, this is from that part, that's the topic. The first thing that comes to our mind is the charts, right? And that's one
charts of images.
Charts or images, and that's something that we all, I think, used when we are doing when we are preparing for exams. We try to make diagrams like something like
charts. Definitely. And also it helps a lot for visual based learners. And with that, let's talk a little about written also. But we can't forget about written, because we use this every day, reading a book, writing lessons down.
That's the most traditional. I mean, except for verbal action, obviously, but that is actually the most traditional way of communication, right? starting from the Stone Age, you used to carve letters on a stone, and now on digital devices and stuff. So since then, we use written ways of communication.
Yeah, written ways of communication to communicate with generations to come. Like how to convey our ideas from past Stone Age, as Ruin said, Stone Age from here to here through written text. Like in Egypt, what is it called? Hieroglyphic or something? It's also written. Yeah. It is visual based, but it is written.
Yeah. So I don't see written content actually fading away in the near future, even though most people say it would. Because let's say if it was a YouTube video, right? Let's say if there was a thumbnail that was really appealing to you, but you'd still just look at the title, right? If the title doesn't resonate with what you're looking for, you wouldn't actually watch it just because of the thumbnail. Maybe, I mean, there might be exceptions. I won't say what, but there might be exceptions if you saw something on the thumbnail, you will actually click it. Yeah, but that I think you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. We all had that moment, like clicking something through the clip art and expecting something and getting something else.
Yeah, exactly. So, actually written communication. I mean, we all need written communication. If we are all studying, we are all students, so we need to write reports, and for everything we have, we need written communication every day. I think until die we need written communication. And what's the main thing is that I read more than I used to about 3-4 years ago. I think it's same for both of you too. We write and we try to do that.
Me either. Well, in my situation, I read a lot of articles, not books.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. It's really.
It is written. Yeah, definitely.
So I think we have a lot to talk about when it comes to expressions and stuff. Shall we just jump into the next session to talk about it, or?
Yeah. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think that's better, because I think we'll need a little bit more time to talk about verbal communication. Yeah.
Yeah, so like Nimruka told about verbal and non-verbal communication, it's one of the most important parts in our life. I mean, every day we talk with each other, every day we share our information and knowledge with everyone we meet in our classes and friends. So like that, I think when we talk about effective communication related to verbal and non-verbal communication, I think one of the main thing is that the communication part has to be simple, right? So simplicity.
Yeah.
And there's this quote from Albert Einstein that if you can't explain something simply, you haven't understood it well enough.
Yeah. So, guys, have you guys heard of the Feynman technique? Like this, when it comes to studying.
I have seen it, and I think I have.
All right, so
somewhere I can't remember.
So what it basically says is, when you're studying, let's say, a topic, all right. So whatever the topic is, you read the content or you understand the content. You write it down in simple terms as you explain it to someone who has no idea of what the subject even is.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So if you can't write that down, you have to go back and restudy it again. So I think that resonates. That is the same thing as Kaveri said, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I think like being simple means you understand the basics, because everywhere basics are simple.
Exactly, basics are base. On that everything is built on. And about simplicity, when it comes to verbal simplicity, I think simplicity means that you have to deliver the facts exact to the point, right? I'm not talking about talking with your friends, and it's something different when it comes to relationships and stuff. But if you are talking about effective communication related to a professional or something like that, or delivering a speech to an audience, that the points have to be very straightforward. And one thing that I got from watching TED Talks is that you have to understand these, they are doing on a part, they are doing this topic, and their points are very straight, right? They are focusing on exactly this part, exactly this. So one of the things that I got from is that they don't try to not miscommunicate, like
beat around the bush.
Yeah, they don't do that. And another thing is that they try to waste information and waste time. And one of the main things that I got from that is, if you are wasting time when it comes to communication, it means you are wasting emotions, right? I mean, if you are in a lecture, and if you are even listening to something or a TV series, if it goes on, then you don't have the feeling that you had when you were watching the first episode, right? Like that.
Yeah.
It's visual, so, but it's mostly verbal. And
I recently went to this conference kind of thing. I can't actually remember the name of it. I should remember, because I follow the guy as well on Instagram. So that was conducted by someone called Ethan Donetti. He's an Australian guy. He's like 26 or 25 or something like that. He's an event organizer. He's a like a millionaire speaker, right? So his life is built around teaching others people how to speak and how to close deals and how to gain an audience. All right. So something I saw, like, it's the same thing Kabir mentioned about TED Talks. Something I saw that in his style of speaking is, he provided the valuable stuff first, like directly. The second straight he walked in the stage, he started talking the valuable stuff. And that, like, the people aren't there for just your chitty chats, right? So if you're talking to someone, they are not here to listen to about how the troubles that you met on your way to the speaking stage. They are here to learn how he did that. So that's what they're here for. So the second he got on the stage, he got right straight into the topic. But I'm not saying he didn't make it interesting. He made it really interesting. He just got to the topic and just got our attention in a split second, and just work like magic. Yeah.
Humans don't have that much of a big attention span, right? So even we are recording this podcast, we try to look around something that these things have. So think about we in a lecture and we try to fall asleep like that. But if you are going to communicate effectively, the first thing you have to do is capture the attention of the whole audience, right? I mean, person to person are unique, peoples are unique, and like that. But you have to come to an optimal point that you can capture the audience of every single person in the audience. So like that, I mean, if that person is delivering,
it was called the iconic speaker. I just found it. Iconic speaker. I just found the name. All right, now keep on going.
Yeah.
Keep on going.
So, and also with that simplicity thing, and also with that public speaking, it's definitely different, because you are here to gain value for your time. You have to when you are public speaking, you have to time is valuable, right? You have you have to give value to those times by being being simple, or conveying your message effectively.
Yeah. So I'll also talk about something about time, managing time, and talking about. So if you guys remember, like, I used to do speeches like back in school, right? Remember?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So something I learned is, so when we try to, Nimruka and I did debate, we were part of a debate team too. So like when we were actually speaking, like whether it was a prepared speech or whether it was a debate, we write down these facts, like even in the podcast, right? So we write down thousands of facts, right? Like we don't talk at least quarter of it, I think.
Yeah.
We only get to talk about a few. But the thing is, we have a limited amount of time, like a time block that we have to get back and put out as many as points we can. So like it's like the simplicity comes into play when you put out one fact and you connect it with the other and connect it with the other, and the more simple you are, the more facts you put out in this time frame.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, another thing, I think we deviated from the topic of effective communication when it comes to for a public speaking kind of thing. But
yeah,
I think one of the main parts that I don't have is that having an effective communication skills with on a personal level. I mean, when I'm talking to you guys, it's normal. But when it comes to talking to someone else, I mean, meeting someone for the first time, like something, I have this, it's very nervous and it's not comfortable, right? I don't know whether you guys have it or not, but
sometimes it depends.
Yeah, it depends. But one of the main things is that it kind of destroyed the first impression, right? I mean,
yes, definitely.
Everything doesn't depend on first impression or anything, but it makes this kind of thing that in your, when somehow when the other person sees you again, that he knows, oh, he's bad at this. So like
like the first
destroys the emotions, like something. Yeah, it creates a huge role, but I mean, we make mistakes, and I still we can change it, but yes, it makes a huge impact.
Let's say like this. So Nimrud, I'll let you speak about the one that I had to talk about. Yeah. So just a little thing. So if let's say you meet a person for the first time, right? So you guys don't know anything about each other. Maybe you guys have seen each other around somewhere, but this is the first time that you're talking. So if you create this great first impression, all right, so the next day, this other guy or girl or whoever you want to talk to might actually be interested to like see you and talk to you. So if you create this great impression and give them your total absolute great energy, and the next day when they see you, they'll probably walk up to you and talk to you first. And but the thing is, what Kavi mentioned. So let's say you didn't provide a great first impression. Let's say it wasn't that great, but it was all right. The next day, the other person won't have that much of interest in talking to you, but the more you talk to them, like the more time passes by, the more time you guys spend and talk about, you guys will find wavelength, I'll say wavelength that you guys resonate with, you guys will find the balanced or equal grounds that you guys will
exactly
continue with the
that's the thing. That's the thing when it comes to effective communication, then like we talk, if I don't make that first impression, a good first impression, then it wastes time, right? So one of the main key features of the effective communication and the communication is that effective communication saves times, and it gives more time to have that emotional connection with each other, right?
Yeah.
So
look at
impression. I think Nimrud.
Nimrud.
Yeah, about first impression, guys, I heard this interesting fact about first impressions. Someone said to me within the first 10 seconds you get a basic impression, and within the first 30 seconds of meeting someone new, you get a lasting impression. So within those 30 seconds, you get a lasting impression on someone you don't know. Like, let's say within those 30 seconds, you do something stupid. Then it becomes a lasting impression of yourself. Because when you meet a stranger, you meet them with a clean slate. They don't know what to think about you. So when as Kaviru said, when you meet them day by day, then you get used to them. I think it's like building up on the first impression, building up on the previous day conversations. You building up your relationship.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, it's just you draw your impression on a blank page. So when you meet a new person, and as we know, humans tend to focus more on the negative. So if you do the simplest thing that might depreciate your first impression, next time you have to work hard to prove that it's like that's not you, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
I think
building a reputation, like something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
uh,
To that, to your situation, Kaviru, like you said about meeting strangers and talking to them, right? About that, I heard something really interesting that something as simple as a smile can be a lot, like it can give a really different kind of, it can be
yeah,
very good for you because a smile uh, like breeds positivity and gives an impression of invitingness, like something like you are open, something like
yeah,
that.
but disclaimer, guys, don't do creepy smiles, all right? So people can just don't look at strangers and go and they'll just creep out. Yeah, just
Yeah.
have a friendly smile. That'll be that.
Friendly smile and not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, like, yeah.
The Nod is really a really universal language, right? This what's up and how's it going? No, yeah, stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah. Another thing about effective communication. I mean, when we are talking about effective communication, I think one of the important thing is that I think we talked about how we are delivering a speech or something to a public audience. Then we talked about personal communications, and another thing is that working with someone, right? I mean, we didn't come to that, I guess. So working with someone, I think it's important that you have to understand when you are working in a team project. We discuss our ideas, like in our podcast, we discuss our ideas and we share our opinions and everything. So one of the main thing is that you have to understand the facts that you are sharing is raw, right? They are the facts that some of the facts that you share can be wrong, right? You have to understand that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So one of the weakest points of humans is that they try to argue with something. I mean, I usually don't do that when it comes to talking with someone. I try to step aside and see what he has in mind. But I have seen so many people do that, and it's really bad kind of thing. I mean, do you have anything to that add to this part, like argue with someone and not trying to understand what he has to say and not identify the things that you present are wrong or like something?
Yeah. So just a little thing. So I think sometimes it can be based on your ego as well. Like
Definitely, I was gonna say.
So when that's a place that I see my ego come into play. I won't say that I have zero ego, but I try to use it when I need it and just control it. Yeah. So let's say you put out a fact that you are like you really believe in, like something that you like that's something that drives you, right? Yeah, something I resonate with. All right, so I just put out it to you guys, and you guys were like, "What? Nah, that won't work for me." And to be honest, the past me, I would be so pissed. Like, bro, I tried to do all these things to prove it to you guys that this actually is the thing that works, right? But in reality, it might only work for me. It might not work for you guys. So it's about understanding that something that's right for you doesn't always mean that it's right for the other person. Just like you have to understand that people have different ways of seeing stuff.
Yeah,
I think we'll talk about the
people are
we'll talk about the perspectives down the line. But yeah, Nimruka, I think you had something to add to that.
No, I was.
It's the same thing. Yeah, ego. Yeah.
So
shall we get into perspectives, because we just got into here.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, so perspective taking comes into play when it even like in a simple one-to-one conversation or in a group conversation, right? So when you're talking, I'll just say in two parts. Just say you were talking with your friend, just one person, all right? So when you're talking with one person and you're saying this stuff, saying what's on your mind, you just think, all right, so what might this person feel if I say this about them? Or what might this person think of what I'm about to say, right? So like something that you actually say even that doesn't offend you, or that doesn't make you feel bad or make you feel unappreciated, I guess it might actually affect the other person even if you don't know it. Like if even if it does, if even if you don't get affected by it. So it's always important to being a being their person, like looking your word, look at your words in their perspective and understand what this person might feel. And I'll just jump into the other part as well at the same time. So let's say you were talking with a friend group, right? And I saw this is kind of a meditation too. I've done this and this actually works. All right. So let's say you were in a group conversation, you have to take a third person view. So you're looking at yourself from
a different
as a different person, right? So you, let's say we meet in real life, or let's just say we are just talking like this. So when I'm talking to you guys, I'm putting out facts to a number of people. I can't just look at everyone in their perspective. That's just hard, right? So like I can't look at my the way I'm talking in Kavir's perspective and Nimruka's perspective at the same time. I mean, if I can, like if I were that much advanced in my brain, I could, but that's not that effective or productive, I think. Not productive. That just won't work. All right. So what I'm saying is, so except for these three in this conversation, you have to have this anonymous person who's also you, but who's not you. The anonymous person is just looking at what you're saying, and that the anonymous person is judging you for you, right? So the anonymous person judges you on what you're saying and gives you feedback. All right, so Kavir didn't like what I said, Nimruka didn't like what I said, so you have to fix it and tell them how they like it or how they'll understand it, right?
And to that, Ruina, I heard this like you are your own worst critic. Like you are the best person to like understand what you're lacking, to be criticize about you. And also to that point, I think it takes a lot of EQ, a high level of EQ to understand others, be empathize with others. We have to understand when we are communicating, we are dealing with others' feelings.
It's a two-way communication, right? Human communicate everything.
How to be self-aware.
Yeah. So
I think that brings us to another topic, right? So awareness is a really, really, really important thing when it comes to effective communication. You have to be aware of the receiver, aware of the topic that you're talking about, aware of the words, the sentences that you're putting out, aware of the ideas or the emotions that you're putting out. Because without this awareness, you can't actually change it or take their perspective to see what you're actually saying, right?
So actually about awareness, one of the main things that about effective communication, not effective communication, about awareness, that in the past couple of years, I thought I had good effective communication skills and these things. And then about 7, 8 months ago, I thought, no, I don't have, I thought I can't communicate with each other because I don't have that much of good English language skills or something like that. But about when university starts, I realized that I don't have communication skills. Mostly, I'm not good at communicating with other people, like even in Sinhala or something like that. These sometimes words doesn't come out. I think awareness in effective communication is something, but you have to understand that you don't have effective communication or communication.
So I think
so.
I think that's the point where you were aware, right?
That's the point.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's the point where I got the idea that I don't have that, and I'm these days I'm trying to improve it, like listening to these things, and I have even I have my daily task list. I have meet someone and talk something with them, like something I'm like that. I think we can add that to an action list at the end of the episode.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. Yeah. So I think awareness doesn't, like, it plays a huge role in most parts of your life. I'll just get into this brief section I saw in a book, The Everyday Hero Manifesto by Robin Sharma. It's called the 3-step success formula. All right. So the 3-step success formula, it starts with better awareness. So everything starts like, if you want to improve, you should start with awareness, whether it's time management, whether it's communication, whether it's stopping procrastination, whatever it is. So if it's time management, you have to do a time audit. You have to be aware of where your time is spent, right? Let's say if it was communication, you have to be aware of why you're why you are resisting communicating with someone. What is the reason? And you have to be aware of what's keeping you away. And when it comes to procrastination as well, you have to be aware of what task you procrastinate, why you procrastinate on them, and how you procrastinate on them. So you have to be aware of all these things before doing something to change them. And that brings us to the second point, which is better choices. So now that you know that this is what's the problem in all this case, so this is what's keeping me from getting from here to here, when you know that, now you can alter the stuff that's happening in your life and you'll make better choices. And then, now that you've made better choices, you won't be stuck in all these loopholes and everything. You'll get better results. So I think that's the base of the 3-step success formula. So better awareness leads better results, which will actually lead you to better awareness leads to better choices, and which will finally lead you to better results. I think that's it's not out of topic, but that's something you guys can use in most of the aspects of your life. Yeah.
And when talking about awareness, you have to first be self-aware to understand your feeling, how you're feeling, to understand how others feel. Like we don't know how others feel by sense, right? We have to first be aware of how we are feeling to understand how others will feel. Like we have to think of them as ourselves. So with that, we have to have with the feelings. When it comes to feeling, we have to have self-awareness to self-management, to manage our feelings, to restrain ourselves, to be better people, to understand others. And it also comes, as we talked about earlier, effective communication, self-awareness, effective communication.
Yeah, exactly. So all the things that Nimruga said is delivered to the world, is delivered to the others through this communication, right? So actually, this thing called diarrhea of mouth, it's something that I picked from a book. If you can't control if you can't control your emotion, if you can't control your feelings, then that's the thing, that's the disease you have in your mouth. I think it's important that you have to aware that whether you have it or not, or anything, that it doesn't matter whether you have it or not. It's what's important is from a year from now, whether you have it or not, right? I mean, something to like,
I had to add something to the self-awareness and the perspective taking together combined. All right, so just something, a little thing. So when it comes, so let's say it was an intimate relationship we were talking about. All right, so let's say it was 2 partners that we're talking about, right? So let's say something that the other person did hurt you, and you before you get all mad at them and just yell at them, you think about what if I say this, but what would they feel like, right? But that's perspective taking and being aware that this might actually hurt them. All right, you take the perspective and see what I might actually say and what they might actually feel. But that doesn't mean that you have to not say it. It's just you have to find the right way to say it. So you have to find just because something that you might say might hurt them doesn't mean you can't reword it in a way that they might actually understand it. So it's about being aware of what you were about to say and like taking their perspective on how it might affect them, and just changing it without bottling it up, just changing it in a way that they'll actually understand it. So that's how I think that's a place that self-awareness and perspective taking comes into play when it comes to effective communication.
Yeah, and also to that point, true, in effective communication, like you said, you have to have understanding of how others feel, and also how to communicate well, or to change how you present or say something in order to not hurt someone. To that, I heard something interesting at workplace. When we are at professional levels, we can't criticize really, because we are talking, we are dealing with others' emotions, egos, and so on. So I heard something very interesting, like there's a structured criticism, like first you positive feedback, you positive feedback. So when you give positive feedback, they become acceptive or receptive to what you are saying, because everyone like what you say if it's good for themselves, right?
Yeah. Nimrud, I have a really recent thing that happened that actually resonates with what you're saying. So I put out this YouTube video, like the Atomic Habits one. Have you guys watched it? Like book I explained about Atomic Habits book. So I worked like harder than the other videos to make that video. So I was really excited on how my friends are going to react to it, right? So there were two kind of critics to this video, two of my good friends. So they approached me in two different ways. So I think one of them, like I know both of them had good intentions coming into like telling me that you have to fix this, fix that and stuff. But it's just the way you tell someone that this is not the way that you should put it out. And, you know, like one person came to me saying that this is not the way you put it out, but the other person told me that this is how you should do it. So they like when you're giving credit, like when you're the critic, right? You have to find out a way that you can actually help them improve and gain something without, you know, putting them down. Like without just telling you where you're wrong. You have to provide how you can fix it. You know, like it's just how I think in a workplace too. I think when you're the critic, you have to think about how you can help someone to improve, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that. If you are trying to criticize something, if you saw something and if you are going to criticize it, you have to think that if I'm that person who's at the receiving end, how will I feel, right? And how much it would demotivate me to do this, right? I mean, doing something, it's you need motivation and you need everything. So he has that, but mostly the people that try to criticize that way are the people that who haven't started something and who haven't tried something, right? So if they try to understand in the receiving person's perspective, then they understand. I mean, it's something that anyone can put into work, right? It doesn't take time, doesn't take any resources. It's just something that you have to spend few seconds on that.
I think that's because they are not self-aware, because they haven't done it, so they don't know how to feel. They don't know how the others gonna feel because they are not self-aware.
Yeah, exactly. I think this all kind of builds up to a point where you have to be emotionally intelligent, right? Like this awareness, perspective taking. Without being emotionally intelligent, you can't do any of these things. And I think we have a lot to talk about emotional intelligence too. And I think we have a little less time to talk about it in this episode, in this section. So shall we just cut into the next section so we can get into emotional intelligence and how we can use it to improve our effective communication?
Yeah.
All right. So getting into the next, and I'd say a more important section of the podcast as well, which is emotional intelligence. Because why I say it's important is that emotional intelligence doesn't only play a part in effective communication, which it does, but it plays a huge role in all of your life too. So
and also relationships also.
Yeah. So what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, or EI, we might refer to as EI during this podcast. So what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence basically refers to the ability to understand or to understand and manage your emotions, not only yours, but the person who you are having the conversation with when it comes to effective communication. So both in yourself and the others, you have to understand and manage the emotions. Like it plays such a crucial role in building healthy relationships and effective communication. So as we mentioned earlier, like it comes from self-awareness. So you have to be aware of yourself and the person who's on the receiving end in order to understand the emotions, understand where they're coming from, understand how you can approach them by letting your emotions go. So you have to understand your own emotion, strengths, weaknesses, and do the same for others in order to have effective communication between each other. And the next step, like now that you're aware, you have to do a self-regulation. So you have to regulate yourself on, it's kind of the ability to control your emotions, like what you put out and what you kind of keeping. Like I'd say, like, none of us put all our emotions out at once, right? None of us do that. So like when it comes to a conversation, we put out emotions. We always do. Like just now we're doing like the real time, but it doesn't mean that let's say, like when I'm speaking, you guys have something that you guys strongly disagree about. Okay. You guys won't just put it out there. Like you won't take that impulsive action just to say, no, stop, you're wrong. But you just let it flow and see where I'm going with this, and then try to fix it, then try to reach out to me and say that I don't think this is wrong, or in like stuff like that. So that's regulating your emotions. So that's not going with that impulsive thoughts that comes into you like straight away when you hear or see something. It's just regulating your emotions. All right, so he said this. I don't agree with this fully, but yeah, I think I can talk to him about this later. I'll just I'll just let him talk while he's talking. And then I think that kind of leads to empathy as well. So it's empathy is, understanding and sharing and feeling others' emotions. So being how do I put this? So it's about being able to put yourself in others' shoes. Like you have no, like, you might have some idea, but I'd say when you talk to a person, like even us, when you're talking to me, I'd say you don't know half of my story. Like I know we've been friends for so long, but there's always more than you know about someone that you don't, right? So like you have to be able to get the facts that you know about them. Try to be in their shoes. You can't actually, like, to be in their shoes is not a logical thing. You can't actually do that because that involves a lot of different things. But you have to like empathy means like you have to try and put yourself in one their shoes and see like where this person is coming from, what this person might be feeling at a point like this, and you have to be empathetic, like when you're talking to someone. Right?
And to that, Rohin, I think like when you talk about empathy, like you talk about how we can't put ourselves in others' shoes because it's impossible to know how others feel. But I think the most effective way is like being self-aware. Like we can put ourselves in that situation, right? We can put ourselves like, what would I feel when I'm at that situation? And we can get an idea based on our feelings. So first of all, be self-aware of your feelings, and through that feelings, be empathetic. Understand how others feel through your emotions.
Yeah,
I get that. So I think in effective communication, we talked about building kind of relationships, right? Verbal skills and everything. That's the main part of our lives. Exactly. We work hard. We try to earn money. Everything. Yes, we try to gain physical things in our life, but the most important things are not the physical things, right? The people we meet, the relationships we build. These are things that we have to save in our life. These are things that we need to exist. So I mean, about those, the main thing is that we talked about in effective communication is that emotional intelligence, and this is something most of the people that don't think that people think if you have a high IQ, that you might think that you have an high EQ too, right? But that's not true. It's totally two different parts of the brain, like something like that. But the thing that we talked about in the previously, the self-awareness, that it's very important people understand that they don't have that. Otherwise, they think they have the emotional intelligence, that they think that, yes, that might be how he feels, that I understand how you feel, but the truth is you don't, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's kind of a negative loop. You know what you just said. You have to be self-aware that you don't have self-awareness. That's kind of a negative loop. Yeah,
exactly.
I think it's based on practice mostly. I think the more you practice, being aware, understanding others' feelings, it becomes you get used to it. I think that's what EQ is. How we develop your EQ.
Yeah, exactly. That's something. One thing. That's the conscious competency and the unconscious competency. If you do this consciously and if you practice this long enough, then it becomes a part of your life. But if you are not aware that this is not something that's inside you, that's not something that you have to understand that. You have to be aware of that, and you have to learn these skills. These are, we don't born with, yes, genes. Sometimes genes have these emotional intelligence levels as different with each other, but it's important that you have the awareness and you have the understanding that you need to learn this. This is something that very important. Otherwise, you are not going to get there. You have to practice this consciously till it becomes a habit. Actually, it's a habit, like something.
Also, guys, I think something that we don't talk about enough when we talk about the emotional intelligence and effective communication is how emotional intelligence actually enhances and promotes active listening and understanding others. You know, like when you have the high EQ, like you guys mentioned, you understand others' emotions, like understand where they're coming from, and then you can listen actively, like knowing, all right, so this is what they're talking about. All right, so this might be what they are this might be what that's affecting them, and this might be why they are expressing their emotions like this. So active listening, like, is improved through emotional emotional intelligence.
And also not just active listening. We have to give attention to the I think this is something Nimruka talked with us beforehand, but it's something that you have to give attention to how other people behave, right? How they behave, how they express their feelings, not just not verbal wise, not you can't listen to feelings, right? You have to see these. Body language, exactly. That's the I forgot. So Nimruka, I think you have something to
about that. Talking about conversation and stuff. When you are
I think Nimruka, what you had to say was like when it comes to active listening, how the person is responding to you with their body language is how you can find out if they're actually understanding and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, about that. Active listening is people think active listening is always been paying attention. You have to show them that you are paying attention. Yeah, it is important, but I think the basics of some people listen well, but they don't know how to show. Like when you show you are paying attention, it's like appreciating the other person. Like it can be let's say, for example, let's say you are giving a speech or something, and other person is listening very well, but he's not showing any emotions or not giving any feedback. Then you question yourself, like, am I doing a good job? Is he understanding everything? When it comes to active listening, I think body language is a very important thing. A simple note can be a huge step. For an example, if you are doing a lecture or a presentation, if someone is listening to you and then nodding to you or answering your questions, it's so fulfilling, and it's kind of definitely fulfilling.
It kind of motivates us to do more, right? It kind of motivates us to
you get the approval of the audience, right? So I have this experience, I think you guys have some part of it too, like at school. So when I was going to these whatever debate or speech competitions, when I get on stage, my like when I start, I have this whole confidence, but by looking at the audience, all right. So let's say I was talking about this great fact that I found out, and like it's the peak of my speech, right? So I was so excited to see how people are gonna react. So I had this great thing written down, and I remember it, and I was about to say it, and there were these people like not even the judges, right? They were just these people in the crowd. They were looking at their phone doing something, and I was like, bro, I'm trying to tell something important. I'm trying to tell something interesting, and like just the fact that they weren't listening to me bothered me, and I kind of messed up the speech there. But I kind of bumped back up and did it anyways. But yeah, active listening. So if like if you guys weren't listening to me right now, I wouldn't be actually wanting to say this even. So like that's how active listening is important. Like even when it comes to friendships, relationships, you have to always listen. Like it's not it when it especially when it comes to relationships, the problems won't be just put out. All right. So like most of the time, like I know it would be perfect if that happens. Like if we could just be like, all right, so this happened and I have a problem with that, that would be so great, right? But most of the time that doesn't. We just put out facts out there. All right, like just how do I say that? Just not the exact story, but just a little bit parts of it, just to make them see that this is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So like you have to be actively listening into in order to catch these little side stories that they put out. So like even when it's a friendship, or even when you get a constructive criticism from someone, they're not gonna tell you directly. So all right, so this is the problem and this is how we're gonna fix it. They won't do that. They'll just say, so I thought this was like this and this was like this. So you have to be actively listening and trying to take as much as information from these little stories that they're going to put out without actually telling you the whole story.
And also to that point, yeah, this is very interesting and very funny. I heard this in a short video, something like that. It's about dating advice and meeting someone new for the first time. He said something like, just listen. Don't say anything. Just listen. Let them speak. Let them speak and just nod and smile. Like it's about active listening. Like people love to talk about themselves. We love to talk about ourselves. Just listen.
Also, I read this really nice quote relating to that in a book. It said that if you want to be interesting, you have to be interested.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. So yeah, the more you try to be interesting, the more the other person gets less interested about you. So the more you try and listen to them and see how interesting they are, now they're interested in you. Now they want to be with you just because you were listening to what they had to say, right?
Yes, definitely.
And also, I think active listening means not just paying attention, as Nimruga mentioned. It's just how you question them, how you let's say Nimruga was telling me a story about his some kind of a experience that he had on a trip or something. So if I don't just ask him, oh, so when did this happen, or how exactly did this happen? What kind of t-shirt were you wearing, or something like that? That just puts it out there that I was listening, and I just asked them questions. I asked how it happened and everything. So I asked them for more information for me to understand. So
yeah,
that this means that I was listening, but this part wasn't clear to me. All right, so please explain it to me more. I just give the speaker the cues that you were listening, and show genuine interest in others' experiences.
Yes, I have a lot of personal experience on this regard, Rohit. Like, for example, there's been many times when I was explaining a story, telling something interesting, and the other person doesn't even he or she is paying attention, but they are not questioning me. Like, what happened next? What is gonna happen? Or what did you do? Then I'm like, I'm so confused. Like, is it interesting? Am I interesting? Is it relevant to them?
Yeah. So like
exactly.
always he was.
Yeah. When something happens like that, you lose the interest, right? You lose the interest to tell something, that story. This happens when imagine, don't imagine. I mean, when you're in your lectures, the lecture always asks at the end, understood, right?
Yeah,
Questions. Yeah. You have to see this in our lectures. When the lecture asks, do you have questions like that? Normally in I don't know about doing, but normally in here, students don't ask questions, right? But there are some interesting lectures that students ask questions. Then you are going to see how good this lecture is, how he put these special things out. He didn't put those out in the during the lecture, but when students ask, he explains them very nicely. Exactly. So in order to get that kind of information from someone, you have to ask the right questions and you have to show the interest that you have in the field. Otherwise, they just think, this is another badge and this is the end of the class and I don't care, right? I mean, I have this experience. I have this experience when I'm teaching to my brother and my cousin. Sometimes they don't ask I know these are the questions that I had when I was in their position not much ago, just few years ago. But they usually think they understand it, but they don't. I know they don't understand it, so I ask the questions. But if they show that interest, I know the way I have to explain this. They are my brother and cousin, so I explain to them whether they want it or not. But if it's someone I don't care about, if it's someone else, then I don't.
Someone you don't know.
Someone I don't know. So then I really don't need to explain that, right? And I think that's something I have to improve, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So about that also, like you mentioned asking questions, right? So let's say you were not in a position to ask questions. All right. So let's say you had social anxiety, which you can improve also, which is like the base of this effective communication topic as well. So there are kind of ways that you don't have to ask questions only. So you can just use facial expressions, body language, and the understand
communication.
Yeah, understand their tone of voice and stuff like that. That also shows like that you're interested in this topic that they're talking about. Just as you mentioned, like a simple nod, like facial expressions like that. As you mentioned, like in the previous section, the nods are actually universal. Yeah, if I just nod this, that means I'm agreeing. If I just say that's what's up, what's up, man, stuff like that. So
noise and so universal, like nah, man.
yeah, and also it's really really important to understand the tone of voice. Because if you don't understand the tone of voice, you're in big trouble, my friend. All right. So, if someone calls, if someone calls you, if someone calls you saying, "Hey, man," that's all right. That's friendly. They want, but someone, "Hey, yo," you have to understand that tone. That someone's gonna beat you up in the coming up seconds. So you have to. If you approach the person who's coming to beat you up, "Hey, what's up?" You'll just give them that, right? So it's really important to understand the tone of voice that the person who's speaking to you or the lecturer or whoever it is. So that's kind of also a part of awareness, I think.
I heard something very interesting about this whole thing about vocal tones and body language. I heard something called 738 and 55 rule. It said like when we are conversing with someone, when we are conversing our ideas, only 5% is conveyed through words, and 38% is conveyed through the tone of voice. Like Ruin said, "Hey, what the?" and like that. Well, sorry, but
family friend PG, come on.
So 38% is vocal tone, and why 55% is body language. Like we get so much information from body language and tone of the vocal tone rather than the words you're actually speaking.
Yeah. Did you guys have anything else to add for emotional intelligence here?
Yeah,
I think the social skills. I think social skills, but there's something. I mean, we know we try to enhance our social skills. I mean, talking with others, talking to us, talking to an audience, talking not just talking, having anything, sharing knowledge and everything. But I think if we want to improve these social skills, I mean, social skill. In order to improve our social skills, I think first thing we have to understand is that we need emotional intelligence. It's not something that hard coded into our body. I mean, we can upgrade. I mean, we have to be the better version of ourselves in couple of months, couple of years, like something. So, like that. That's a small part from that. Yeah.
And also, when talking about this, I missed a really important person. Have you guys heard of Dr. Daniel Goleman?
No, not really. No.
This is very interesting because he's the person who populated the word emotional intelligence. He has a book called Emotional Intelligence. Like he is the dude.
All right, so I was like populated. What did you mean?
Populated emotional intelligence.
Did you put out so many kids? Yeah. All right, yeah.
Not population, but what? Okay. So he says something very interesting, something we already talked about. Like he has this he mentions this 4 characteristic of emotional intelligence. As we talk about self-awareness, it's a huge part of huge characteristic. Characteristic of emotional intelligence. A huge characteristic of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, and with that self-awareness comes self-management. As we are self-aware, we can self-manage, and with that self-management, you manage your social awareness. Because you are self-aware and self-managed, you can social awareness. Social awareness means understanding others' feelings, basically empathy. And so the last part is relational management, using that social awareness.
About social awareness, and that I think that we can talk about how emotional intelligence is a special part, not just in our daily life. We are still studying, but in 3-4 years we are going to be working a full-time working, right? So it's very important to understand in a workplace that we need this emotional intelligence. Otherwise, we are going to be left out or like something. One of the things that I learned last week from we have this enhancement course is that actually last week we had a small activity that we have to prepare something, a drama, like something about how emotional intelligence and how effective communication, actually not emotional intelligence, effective communication. I use these facts I did for the research, like something. So the thing I previously said is that there's this company, these companies have this now you can go to work at 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, it's fine, you have to work these hours and get out of the office around after spending 8 hours. But one of the things is that you have to understand how others do, right? I mean, if whole company comes at 8 and goes out at 5, then you can't come around 10 and then stay another 2 hours just for you, right? That's something get into my mind, that you have to understand others. You have to learn everything just by looking others. You have to kind of get the feeling, the place, how this place is going to work. Otherwise, you are going to be, you are not going to have a job in 3 months, like something.
You have to
adapt actually.
Adaptability.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, so to someone who's actually been affected in some kind of way. So, not a lot of people have very high emotional intelligence. Some people, not some people, just actually a lot of people act on their impulsive thoughts, right? So I think when talking about emotional intelligence, it's really important to talk about emotional resilience as well. Do you guys know what emotional resilience is? So, emotional resilience is just, the ability to respond to a stressful or unexpected situation and a crisis, I guess. So, like, let's say, I'll just put it into an example, right? So, let's say as we were talking about workplaces, so you were at a workplace and you at a workplace and your manager or your boss so that your group was not working up to his expectations, all right? So, and he just acted on his impulsive thoughts and came at you, like he just started scolding you guys and pointing out all the mistakes that you did. But actually, in reality, you guys like did your best, right? So now that you're like, now that the manager hasn't been aware that these guys have worked and these guys are doing their best and stuff like that, and now that's a problem, right? So you have to build up emotional resilience. I have noted down these simple few facts that I got from this book that I'm reading right now. I can't find it, so it's I can't remember the name of the book either. It's a book written by a Navy SEAL, all right? Not David Goggins, all right? It's a book written by a Navy SEAL. So in that, there's a whole different chapter for emotional resilience, which I think is really important to understand. So how you can build up emotional resilience is, first of all, awareness, as we talked about. So you have to witness the negative emotional reaction. So your boss comes and screams at you saying that you're not working good enough, right? So now that you're feeling something negative, you got critical feedback from your boss, and there's this surge of anger that builds up in you, and you just want to scream at your boss, what the hell, bro? I did all this and you're now screaming at me. But if you did that, you'd actually, like Kabir said, you'd lose your job, all right? Yeah. But then what you can do is interdict this emotion with a power statement, all right? So you just take a deep breath and tell yourself, all right, I'm in control of my emotions. I'm not gonna let this anger get over my emotions and just scream out words that I am not gonna regret in the near future. You can just say, like, I'm in control of my emotions and I choose to respond with calm and understanding manner, and then what you can do is observe your root emotion. So this anger is still like build up as a root emotion. So when your boss screams at you and tells you that you're not working good enough, it's not the anger that's initially built up. It's the
it's the build up. Actually, it's the word build up.
It's this thing like discouragement, or I think discouragement is not like you're hurt because you did your best and that's not enough, and that's what you get mad about. That's what builds up the anger, right? So you have to.
It's like am I not good enough?
Yeah, like right. It's that unappreciation. That's the word.
Yeah,
like how the root emotion is the unappreciation, and that builds up to anger. So you have to observe that the root emotion is the feeling of unappreciation.
Actually, now one thing, Ruin.
Yeah.
In these situations, that the manager is calling us, that's something, but we have to understand that if you are getting angry and like something, you see that there are small things that gathered up in our life sometimes, right? Yeah. It's like how do you, like the
tipping point.
Yeah, that's the tipping point.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You have to understand that it's not just that we have so much things in our lives that, and like that.
Yeah,
so build up. Yes.
Yeah, once you understand and observe the root emotion, you have to lean into that. So let's say you feel unappreciated and you just ignore it. All right, I feel unappreciated, but yeah, never mind. But you have to let yourself feel it without deflecting it. That's the next step. Now, you have to transmute the negative energy. Now, you have to gain motivation from what the boss, our manager said. So if the boss said that you're not working hard enough, you interdict with a power statement, lean into the root emotion. Now you transmute that negative energy and tells yourself, all right, if that's how it is, I'm gonna work hard. All right. Now you
Motivation.
see. Yeah, now you'll see how I'm gonna work hard. And from the next day on, you engage in that new emotion. You take action. All right. So if you worked at one thing 1%, now you're working 2%. So stuff like that. That's how you build emotional resilience without letting that initial impulsive thoughts take control of yourself.
Best example for that is David Goggins.
Always.
Yeah, and also that this is very interesting, Rui. What you said, goes is very similar to like there are 3 levels of EI, like emotional intelligence. There are 3 levels how we develop it. Like at first, we are always like pouring out our emotions. We wear our heart on the sleeves. That the terminology, like we let ourselves go. Like we feel sad. We do everything sad. For example, like breakups can be really dark. Like you get depressed and everything. Like I think that's the first step. Like overly emotional, becoming overly emotional and acting on impulse. And then the second stage becomes you becomes like a zombie. Like you become emotionless. You try to be void of emotions. Like because you've been hurt from the step 1, you try to be emotionless. You try to be numb. You think that is like healthy, but it's not actually healthy, because you have to have emotions to like happiness is also emotion. Like emotionless life is so dull. And the next level of that is like being aware, and also not letting yourself feel, but not acting on impulse, being restrictive. Like there's a famous quote for this, like keeping a cold heart, no, keeping a cold mind and a warm heart. Like feeling emotions, but keeping your mind cold.
Yeah, exactly. I think we can sum up emotional intelligence, right? Shall we just jump into this week's action items from here, or do you guys have anything else?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Nimru?
Summary, then action items, or?
Yeah, we have to summarize. All right.
Actually, Rohit. Yeah, actually, I think we should put our show notes. I think for this session, I think show notes is a summary. Yeah, it's hard to summarize what we talk.
And also, there are a lot of things we haven't talked about here that
exactly.
That we might have in the
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking at the picture which shows this. I can't remember how much the number of emotions that we feel. Like these are things that you should look into. I mean, we can't understand.
If you're sharing, it's also Kaviru. If you want to, you can share it too.
Well, we'll just link it down.
We'll upload it.
That's easier.
Yeah. So action week. Action list. Yeah. For actions for this week, I think approach someone. Don't approach someone like that. I mean, someone you know, that someone you have seen, and go and talk to this person. That's
gonna be easy because I just started university.
Yeah. Same for me. Yeah, same for me. Talk.
Yeah.
To someone.
Also for me, like in my work, I meet a lot of strangers, and I have to interact with a lot of strangers. So
yeah, I did recommend you.
Yeah.
In the last blog, I saw that Ruin helped someone by going the extra mile, right? Yeah, exactly. That's something. That's something builds the emotional intelligence. So we can add that to our list.
Yes.
For the next week, I try to help someone every day. Try to help at least one person every day. That's a good action.
Just
for the week. I think.
Just try to make a new connection.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, if you can't, like, there are people with social anxiety. So if you can't approach them, just smile and nod.
Yeah. That's totally all right. It's just improve from where you are. You don't have to go to this perfect level from this low level. You can just start from a smile and just work yourself up to talking to a stranger. That's all.
Yes.
That's totally fine. Just go with your own pace, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I just want to add. If you don't take these chances, you are going to miss so many good people, right? You are going to miss so many good relationships and so many good people that you are going to meet in your life. So, that's the action for the week. Go meet someone. Go talk to someone. Try to help someone.
Just interact.
Yeah, just interact.
So I think we can sum it up here, right? So we talked about effective communication and how emotional intelligence how they correlate and coexist, and how you can improve yourself for a better active listening, and how to effectively communicate and make new relationships. And thanks for watching if you guys are watching this long. And I think we haven't decided for a topic for next week, but I think it'll be interesting as this one. And
also watch our previous episode, because we talk about a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched it, go watch it, and comment what you guys liked, and comment what if there are any topics that you guys want us to talk about. Mention that in the comments as well. And next week we'll meet you guys with another podcast in another topic. Till then, take care and peace.
See you guys.